folks at home that are watching this show is that about half of Kristi Parr's family were at this lake house watching it on a big screen TV. Kristi is a senior. She's about to graduate in a couple weeks, and this is her first and last semester in the KSU Tellers. She's our final performer tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristi Parr.
The sun was just beginning to set over the tiny island in the distance. The sky looked like it had been finger-painted by a 5-year-old in streaks of orange and purple and pink. His boots stood upon a surface blackish gray, almost more like ash than sand. And his hands, withered and rough from years of pulling wet rope, sat proudly on his hips, the way that every pirate did after he had just plundered some vast amount of treasure. Yet even still, he looked out at the waters in front of him, hungry for another adventure. This great pirate was my grandpa. Okay, now don't get ahead of me here. My papa did not have Alzheimer's or dementia or displaced personality disorder. No, instead he had something my grandmother liked to refer to as Peter Pan syndrome. Yes, the man dressed up like a pirate on a weekly occurrence, ate chocolate ice cream for breakfast, and spent his 80th birthday at Disney World just so he could ride Splash Mountain. Yes, underneath that wrinkly and liver-spotted little body beat the heart of a boy who never really grew up, which duly drove my grandmother crazy and made my summer vacations with him freaking awesome. See, if Papa was Peter Pan, then the little lake house that he and my granny shared together was like our own personal Neverland. Now, I'm not talking about creepy Michael Jackson Neverland. I mean freaking pixie dust-infused, second star to the right, make all your wildest Disney dreams come true Neverland! And every morning in our sweet Neverland started exactly the same, with his sweet Fred Astaire-like footsteps coming down the staircase. And then the singing. Come fly with me, let's fly away. I cracked one eye open. 6 a.m. I don't know if it was Papa's time in the Navy or if he just felt like he had too much life to live, but the man was physically not able to sleep in. And one thing was for sure, if Papa was awake, your wake-up call was not far behind. All right, kids, sleeping beauties, wake up, we got a lot of work to do today. I opened the other eye to see a storm of all of my cousins spread throughout various corners of the living room. All right, kids, get up. I was just down at the lake this morning and I think I saw some treasure down there. Treasure? Well, unbeknownst to us, every single evening after all of his grandkids were asleep, my papa, armed with a giant bag full of multicolored Mardi Gras beads, would go down to his lake and sprinkle them along the beach and in the shallow part of the lake as if a band of magical pirates had somehow lost and dumped their treasure. Yeah, it was really sweet. Had lost and dumped their magical treasure. Now, this is important. We didn't really know that magical pirates couldn't actually access a lost hidden island in Ocala, Florida, and why they kept leaving their treasure for us to find night after night wasn't really on my mind. But the point was, my papa was so concerned with making sure that every moment we spent with him was magical. All right, kids, come on, get down to that lake before I beat you down there and get all those beads myself. Well, just like that, the previously dormant room turned into an anthill after somebody had just stepped on it as cousins whizzed and buzzed over to their suitcases to grab their swimsuits. Now, this is probably a good time to mention that these little treasure hunts were not mere child's play to us. Oh, no. They were more like G-rated version of the Hunger Games, with aunts and uncles sending out their children like tributes to bask in the bloodbath lakeside. This is also probably a good time to mention mention that I am 7th out of 14 grandchildren. That means I had, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 older cousins ahead of me who were braver, faster, and much stronger than me. The odds were never in my favor. But today something was going to be different. I was going to prove to them all how brave I really was. And so just like that, I made a beeline over for my suitcase, grabbed my Little Mermaid bathing suit, and stripped down stark naked in front of 8 or 9 of my cousins. But there was no time for modesty when booty was on the line. I slicked on my Little Mermaid swimsuit and was just about to head out the door when I realized that my arm was stuck in the armhole. I couldn't get it through, and then I realized my straps were crisscrossed to the back, and I couldn't reach and untangle them. Stevie! Nelson! Well, my cousin Stevie was already tying her bikini top in the back, and my cousin Nelson slept in his swim trunks, and he was already halfway down to the beach. I realized I was going to have to embrace my inner Katniss Everdeen and go with my instincts, and so I ran with my weird little chicken arm and jumped over discarded piles of pajamas, out the screen door, down to the beach, just in time, popped my arm open to see that all the beads had already been taken. Well, that wasn't until I saw a small strand, a red strand of beads about 3 feet deep in the lake, just close enough for me to reach. Well, without even thinking, I dove for it when what, bam! An unidentified elbow slammed me square in the nose. I stood up and brushed the wet sand off my swimsuit and looked up to see 12 eyes staring straight at me to see what I would do next. Well, I felt like crying. I wanted to cry, but if I cried, my cousins would see that I wasn't brave and I wasn't like Katniss Everdeen at all. And so, that's when I felt the hot, wet dripping down my face. Blood. Well, I hung my head low and turned around and started walking up to the house. I was about halfway through Papo's garden when he and I made eye contact. Now, usually, if one of us kids were hurt, Papa would just say, kid, you're a pirate. Rub some spit in it. But this time, he didn't. He just got up from his chair and grabbed my hand and walked me into the kitchen and got a paper towel for my nose. Then he walked me over to his favorite chair and sat me down on his lap, wet swimsuit and all. And out of the little corner end table drawer, pulled out 2 small chocolate gold coins. He gave one to me and kept the other one for himself. We cheersed them, peeled back the foil, and ate them. He didn't say anything to me about me not being brave or my nose bleeding or me wanting to cry. We just sat there and licked the melted chocolate off each other's fingers. At the funeral, they gave us each a small plastic gold coin, pirate treasure. And as I walked out on the dock, watching the sunset over the lake, I toyed with the gold coin in my hand as I heard in the distance my cousins shooting off his cannon in memory of him. It's okay to laugh at that, the man had a freaking cannon. Stories like this are so great. They are not what I will miss the most about him. I will miss my Peter Pan and the feeling I had with him in our adventures in Neverland. As I watched the sun go down and fade into darkness, the words from the author of Peter Pan, Jim M. Barrie, came to my mind. You know that place between awake and sleep? The place where you can still remember dreaming? That is where I will always love you, Peter Pan. And that's where I'll be waiting.